Welcome to Quantum RX, the podcast that teaches you how to move beyond stuck emotions and trauma for mind, body, and spirit healing. I'm your host, Dr. Stephanie Davis. So, have you ever been stuck in life where you're constantly thinking about things and overthinking and ruminating, or you just can't make a decision and you'd rather have people make a decision for you because it's too hard for you to do that? Well, you are not alone. This is something that I see frequently in my practice. And I can say for probably the vast majority of my life, up until the last probably 5 to 7 years, that I was there too. I was the little kid who I was shy. I would kind of hide behind my parents. If somebody asked me a question, I wanted my mom to answer for me. And then as I became an adult, that got magnified. Like I couldn't make a decision without overthinking it or I had to think through all of the possibilities and all of the permutations, and I wouldn't trust myself. And so it was interesting because there was an experience that I had, and I was working on a project with two separate colleagues who were all in the health space. And we came together and we were working on, it was a website, like an informational website about functional medicine. And we were publishing lots of articles and putting really good information out there. But I got along well with the other two, but they did not get along very well. And there was a lot of turmoil, and that ended up coming to a head, and we ended up having this discussion. And I remember sitting there and they both had no problem, saying how they felt and making decisions. And I was sitting there and I kept on saying, I need to sit with this for a little while. I need to observe it, take it in, digest it, and then I'll give you guys my decision on what I think. And that, I can't even remember the exact time frame, but I feel like it took me 2 to 3 days to actually do what I said I was going to do, understand it, observe it, and then make a decision. And I'm like, this is not practical. And I knew that it represented something inside me and there were some things going on, and we're going to dive into that a little bit more. And I'm going to unpack it a little bit as we get deeper into this episode. But what I really want people to understand is, kind of the highlights of this episode are: what is happening when we overthink or we can't make a decision? How does this affect our subconscious mind? And therefore it will affect our, conscious mind. And I'm going to give you guys a quick and easy way to break free from all of the overthinking and the inability to make a decision. And it's going to teach you how to instill trust in yourself. So we're going to dive into that, and the exercise is super easy. And I use it. I don't need to use it very often, but I use it with my kids, and I teach it to people who are struggling with those aspects of overthinking or rumination or indecision. If you're curious as to if you have any stored emotions or trauma that might be causing your illness, preventing you from achieving your goals, or even just showing up as the best, most authentic version of yourself, I invite you to take my free stored emotions and trauma quiz. You'll find that link in the show notes. So let's get back into my situation. I knew that I was kind of holding up our process, and it was weighing on me heavily that I was the person who, basically they were kind of putting it on me as to what our next move was. Were we going to dissolve the relationship? Who's moving forward? Who's not? And that terrified me even more. But in the dark recesses of my mind, I knew I had to do what was best for me and not best for, the whole situation. And so ultimately what happened was the person who kind of owned the website, he maintained ownership of it. And my friend immediately stepped away after we had our discussion. And after, the 2 to 3 days that I took to decide, make my decision, I decided that I was going to step away too. But it wasn't as clear and easy of a process for myself as it was for my friend. My friend was just like, I'm done, I'm walking away. For me, there was a little bit of unpacking and there was, you know, walking through it to make sure that I was still on good terms with both of them. So it was just a really, really awkward situation. And I know now that, like, if I was in that situation, it would be very different. My presence in the situation would be different. I know I would have a lot more confidence and knowing what I need, and I wouldn't feel scared or nervous to speak my mind. I know that I can come to conflict and maintain respect for other people and calmness with other people. I'm not going to get worked up and fired up and make knee jerk, decisions. I can hold my own in those spaces now, but I couldn't before. And the reason why and why this happens, why we ruminate and why we can't make a decision, it comes down to something that's super duper simple. We don't trust ourselves. And that's a big aha for many people. And when I'm working with clients, children or adults, because I see this across the age spectrum, a lack of trusting ourselves. And I know that feeling and I have been there. So I tell my clients when I'm working with them, I can absolutely relate because even making a super simple decision like, oh, what kind of pizza do we want, for something like that type of decision in years past, like I would sit there and be like, oh, do I want vegetables? Do I want meat? Do I want both? Like, is everyone else going to like it? There are so many different, permutations and how that could look. Even looking at a menu, it would take me forever. I'd have such a difficult time making a decision. And it's like, we can get overwhelmed. We can get overwhelmed with just choices. We can get overwhelmed with not, worrying about other people and not being concerned enough with ourselves. But when it comes down to it and we peel back the layers, it's all not trusting ourselves. When it comes down to the very like pinpoint piece of the puzzle, it's that lack of trusting yourself. And how does that affect your subconscious mind? If you're constantly ruminating and you can't make decisions, your mind gets that constant feedback that you don't trust yourself. So then it perceives so much of the world to be danger, right? So you're sending your body lots of danger signals. And this is something that I explain to people when I'm working with them. And it's funny because regardless of what we're thinking or what we are like not making that, making a decision for it, if it's in your body long enough and that distrust is there long enough, it will manifest as a danger signal. And it's interesting because it's a result of learned patterns, right? It's a learned pattern or a memory that has been reinforced over time. And we need to disrupt it and make a new one. And so it's, again, like I said, this is because it's a danger signal that's been on speed dial forever and ever and ever. And that is a pattern, like it's a walking pattern that's wart in the grass. This is an analogy that I like to use with my clients because they can visualize what's happening. It's essentially like this, there's a nice grassy lawn and one of a kid decides, I don't want to walk the long way, down the perimeter and then down the road. I'm just going to walk through the grass. So as the kid walks through the grass, it wears a path, right? And that path starts off pretty thin, usually probably about a foot or a foot and a half wide. And as other people notice it, they're like, hey, I'm going to take that shortcut too. And so that path gets worn more and it gets wider. And so it might go from being a foot or a foot and a half to like 3 feet. And eventually, as more people take it, it gets even wider. And so you could ride like a Jeep or an ATV or something like that through it. You get the idea. This pattern, it's getting bigger and bigger and bigger as it gets reinforced more. Pretty soon, it could become like a paved road, and then it could become a super highway. The more that pattern gets reinforced in your brain, thinks the same things, and it reinforces. This is what happens subconsciously, right? That pattern keeps on getting reinforced, and it's going to continue like that in that subconscious manner, driving everything that you do until it is disrupted, and that you make a new pattern, right? And that takes time. And that's why I say this is like breaking free. We are breaking free from the cycles of overthinking and indecision and learning how to trust ourselves again, and really making the subconscious mind understand that we're doing that. But like I said before, the key is to disrupt the patterns and to break the cycle and create a new pattern. So here's a good example I will use. Like, frequently, people who have anxiety have breathing issues. They either breathe very shallow or feel like they can't take a full breath. They might have, like I said, like short breaths, shallow breaths. It does manifest. It's like if you, or on the extreme side of it is like panic attack breathing. Like, I can't feel like I feel like I can't breathe. I can't, catch my breath. That is very much the danger signal in action. So when you feel like you can't breathe, or you can't expand your lungs, or you can't take a deep breath, the key is this. This is the kind of the steps and sequence of the exercise, and you can apply it to anything, but we're using breathing as an example because it's really common with anxiety. First, be aware and acknowledge it, because the first thing, often we reinforce it because we feel like, I can't take a deep breath. I'm scared. It's scary. And that is very valid. It is a real thing, right? But you're sending that danger signal to the brain. What you need to do is be aware of it and acknowledge it. So it's like, oh yeah, I feel like I can't breathe, but I'm acknowledging it. It's there, right? And then you tell yourself, I'm okay. This isn't a big deal. It's only my brain. I'm safe and I can breathe easy. And you repeat that to yourself. Just keep on repeating that, because we need to send calming signals to the brain instead of that danger signal, because that subconscious mind is always listening and eavesdropping on every single thought, feeling, and emotion we have. So you just do that. You do that. And then you can actually, if you want to take that a step further, you can change your breathing pattern. Just remember, like, oh yeah, if I exhale longer than I inhale, it will shift my breathing from a state of like kind of stress or fight or flight to the calming parasympathetic state, that rest, digest, reproduce state. So if you do that, all you have to do is take a breath in for like 3 or 4 seconds and breathe out for 6 seconds, that type of thing. Just super, super simple, easy. I have taught that to many of my clients who have like that breathing response to like anxiety. You can also use that when you are ruminating or overthinking or having like a moment of indecision. When you notice that, remember the key, notice it, be aware, acknowledge it, don't judge it, just acknowledge it. You tell yourself, I'm okay. This isn't a big deal. I trust myself and I can make a decision. And again, you just keep repeating that. And every time something, one of those types of situations comes up, if you keep doing that, your subconscious mind and your brain is going to get the message that, oh, this is in danger. I'm okay. I'm safe. This is a good thing. And so your brain starts to de-escalate. It de-escalates that danger response that was on speed dial before. And we're literally, we're creating a new path instead of walking down that worn path in the grass that became a superhighway. We're taking a detour and we're creating a new path. And it's a path of self-assuredness, and it's a path of trust and a path of safety. That is the big piece of the puzzle. It is rewiring those pathways and disrupting that feedback loop that, had you in that state all of the time. It really is a super simple but effective exercise that you can use to break free from overthinking or indecision. And it instills trust in yourself. And that is the ultimate goal. Like, so often when I'm working with people, when we are doing a regression or we're doing some of the major trauma work, that's what it comes down to is, I don't trust myself, or I don't trust the world, or I'm not good enough, or I don't deserve something. But that lack of trust in either the self or not trusting the world comes up so frequently because it will often manifest as these things. I'm overthinking, I can't make a decision. And then I get anxious, and that anxiety turns into either like breathing issues. I can't think straight. That sometimes that anxiety even leads to like digestive and immune issues. And so you've got this whole soup of symptoms that you think are the issue, when the real issue is you need to learn how to trust yourself, right? And we need to learn how to break those cycles and develop new thought patterns. So I invite you to try doing these exercises and see if you can break the cycle and, basically make a new path for yourself. And if you do this, let me know. Comment on the show notes, either on the podcast or on the YouTube channel, and let me know. Let me know what kind of results you have. And like I said, I would love to hear your feedback, and I will give you some comments. If I can help you in any way, or if you have any other thoughts too regarding the exercise.
If you made it this far, I truly appreciate you. Remember, knowledge is just the beginning. Taking action is what truly sparks change. If you're overwhelmed and don't have enough energy to make it through the day, I invite you to book a free 20-minute coaching call with me. It's a no-obligation chat where we can discuss your health goals and how I might be able to help you achieve them. Visit the link in the episode description to book that call. Until next time, keep striving for wellness, and remember, you have the power to not just survive, but thrive in motherhood.